I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these posts. I used to read stories here and think, that could never be me. I'd see the red flags. I'd walk away before things got bad. Well, never say never, right? Life has a funny way of humbling you. So here's some context. I've been with my girlfriend, well, ex now spoilers, for almost 3 years. At first, everything felt like a movie, late-night talks, spontaneous road trips, her showing up at my place with my favorite takeout just because. I was all in. But looking back, I realized the first signs of trouble weren't dramatic. They were quiet, subtle. She started spending more nights, working late. Her phone, which used to be face up on the table, was suddenly always flipped over. And the worst part? Every time I asked, she'd laugh and call me paranoid. At first, I believed her. I wanted to believe her. You don't want to think the person you love is lying to your face. But deep down, something in my gut started whispering. This isn't right. I ignored it. I told myself I was overthinking. After all, isn't that what love is? Trust? Turns out, sometimes trust is the rope people use to hang you with. So here's where things started to escalate. About 6 months ago, I noticed she was way more protective of her phone than usual. Like, bathroom trips with the phone, showering with it on the sink, even falling asleep with it under her pillow. Now, I'm not the type to snoop. I always thought, if I have to go through her phone, the relationship's already dead. But man, the paranoia was eating me alive. I'd wake up at night and see the glow of her screen as she turned away from me, thumbs moving fast. One night, I finally asked her, "Who are you texting at 2 a.m.? She barely looked at me and said, "It's just work stuff. Go back to sleep." Work stuff? At 2 a.m. On a Saturday. I laughed it off in the moment, but inside, I felt this crack in my chest, like something was splitting open. Still, I swallowed it. I told myself, she wouldn't betray me. Not her. Not us. But the universe had other plans. A week later, I ran into one of her co-workers at the grocery store. We chatted for a bit, and I casually said, "Man, she must be drowning in late-night projects, huh?" He gave me this weird look and said, "What do you mean? Our office closes at 6. Nobody works weekends." And just like that, the bottom dropped out of my stomach. After that grocery store encounter, my brain went into overdrive. You ever feel like your heart already knows the truth, but your head is desperately trying to negotiate with it? That was me. I didn't want to believe she was lying, so I told myself, maybe the coworker doesn't know everything. Maybe she's on some special project. But deep down, I knew, so I decided to test it. The next time she said she had to work late, I casually offered to bring her dinner. Just a sweet gesture, right? I even picked up her favorite Thai food on the way. When I called her, she freaked out. Her voice was sharp. "No, don't come. It's confidential stuff. You can't be here. Just trust me, okay?" That word again, trust. It hit different this time. I didn't push back, though. Instead, I drove past her office. Parking lot. Empty. Dark. Not a single car in sight. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I sat there in the shadows like some kind of detective in a cheap movie, hoping, begging, that I was wrong. But every second I sat there, the truth screamed louder. She wasn't at work. When she got home that night, she smelled like a bar. Not like her office. Not like work. Like whiskey and smoke. She kissed me on the cheek, acting like nothing was wrong, and all I could think was, how long has this been going on? I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted proof. Solid proof. And I promised myself, if I found it, I wouldn't look the other way again. It happened by accident. I wasn't snooping, I swear. She left her laptop open one morning before work. Normally, she never did that. She's the type who shuts everything down and clears her history like she's in the CIA. But that day, maybe she was in a rush. Maybe she just slipped. I sat down with my coffee, and there it was, her email. Not work emails, personal ones. The first subject line that caught my eye made my stomach drop. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." I froze. My hands literally went cold. I knew I shouldn't click, but of course I did. And there it was, in black and white. Plans, pet names, inside jokes. Details that made me sick to my stomach. She wasn't just cheating. She was building a whole other life with someone else. And the worst part? The guy wasn't a stranger. It was someone I knew. Her old friend from college. The same guy she once swore was like a brother to her. The same guy I'd shaken hands with at parties. The guy who'd smiled at me while apparently sneaking behind my back. Reading those emails was like having the air sucked out of the room. I felt stupid, humiliated, betrayed all at once. My mind raced through every late night at work, every flipped-over phone, every time she laughed at me for being paranoid. And yet, I couldn't stop reading. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, except the wreck was my own relationship. That was the moment denial died. I had the proof I thought I wanted. But instead of relief, all I felt was rage, and this deep, bone-crushing sadness I can't even explain. I thought I'd confront her calmly. You know, like in the movies, sit her down, lay out the evidence, and watch her crumble under the weight of her own lies. Reality? Nothing like that. When she came home that night, I couldn't hold it in. The second she walked through the door, I blurted out. I know. I read the emails. I know everything. Her face went pale, then hardened in a way I'd never seen before. For a second, I actually thought she'd cry, apologize, beg me not to leave. Instead, she crossed her arms and said, "So, you went through my stuff. That's on you." That hit me harder than the emails. She wasn't even sorry. She was angry at me for finding out. I shouted. I'm not proud of it, but the rage just boiled over. Years of trust, of love, of believing in her, smashed in one sentence. I asked her how long it had been going on. She rolled her eyes and muttered, "Does it matter?" Yes. Yes, it mattered. It mattered to me. To us. To the man I thought I was in her life. And then, the kicker, the part I'll never forget. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "You were too comfortable. He makes me feel alive." I swear I felt my heart physically crack at that moment. I wanted to throw her out right then. But I didn't. I just stood there, shaking, while she grabbed her keys and walked out. No apology, no explanation, just left me standing in the ruins of what used to be my life. The next morning, I woke up on the couch, still in yesterday's clothes, surrounded by empty beer bottles I barely remembered opening. My phone buzzed, and for a split second I thought it was her, maybe ready to apologize. Nope, it was him. Yeah, the guy? Her, like a brother friend. He texted me. At first I thought my eyes were playing tricks. "We should talk." I almost threw my phone across the room. Talk? What the hell could he possibly have to say to me? But the anger got the better of me, and I replied, "Say it here." He sent back. "She told me you knew. I didn't want it to be like this. Can we meet up, man to man?" I actually laughed out loud. Man to man. Like betraying me for months didn't strip him of the right to even use that phrase. But here's where it got crazy. Against all logic, I agreed. I needed answers. Needed to look him in the eye and see what kind of person does this. We met at a coffee shop. The second I walked in and saw him sitting there, I felt this wave of hatred I didn't even know I was capable of. He looked nervous, like a kid waiting outside the principal's office. The first thing out of his mouth was, "I didn't mean for this to happen." And just like that, I realized I wasn't just mad at her. I was mad at myself. For ignoring the signs. For believing their lies. For letting it get this far. But before I could even rip into him, he dropped something I didn't see coming at all. So I'm sitting across from this guy, ready to unload years of betrayal-fueled rage on him. But before I could even start, he blurts out, "She told me you two were done months ago." I froze. "What?" He nodded, looking miserable. "She said you were living like roommates, that you were just waiting for the right time to split. She made it sound like you didn't care anymore." I felt my jaw literally clench. That wasn't just a lie, it was a story. A carefully crafted narrative to justify everything she was doing behind my back. I told him flat out. We were very much together. We slept in the same bed last night. She lied to you. The look on his face, man, it was like watching someone's world collapse in real time. He put his head in his hands, whispering, "Oh my God, I didn't know." And here's the twisted part. For a second, I believed him. He looked genuinely crushed, like he'd been played just as hard as I had. But then the anger came back. Whether he knew or not, he still went along with it. He still helped her destroy what we had. I stood up to leave, but he stopped me. His voice was shaky when he said, "There's something else you should know." I didn't want to hear it. My chest was already tight, my head pounding. But he looked me dead in the eye, and what came out of his mouth next made my entire body go numb. He took a deep breath, like he was about to rip a Band-Aid off, and said, She's pregnant. I swear, for a second the world went silent. No background noise, no clinking cups, no chatter in the cafe, just those two words echoing in my skull. I sat back down because my legs literally gave out. My mouth went dry. I managed to choke out, "Is it mine?" He shook his head slowly. "She told me it's mine." I can't even describe the kind of pain that hit me. It wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was betrayal on a level I didn't think was possible. Not only had she lied, cheated, and humiliated me, she had been building a whole new life with this guy right under my nose. And the way he said it, like he was the victim, lit a fire in me I didn't know I had. I wanted to flip the table, to scream in his face, to hurt him the way I was hurting. But instead, I just sat there numb. Because here's the cruel part. Even after all the lies, all the betrayal, all the manipulation, a part of me still loved her. And realizing that almost broke me more than the news itself. He kept talking. Something about how he didn't want to fight, how he thought I deserved to know, but I wasn't listening. My whole world had just been rewritten in a single sentence. When I finally stood up, I told him, "You can have her. Both of you deserve each other." And I walked out. But the truth is, I wasn't just leaving him. I was leaving behind the man I thought I was, the life I thought I had. When I got home that night, she was already there, sitting on the couch like nothing had happened, scrolling her phone, as if she hadn't just detonated my entire life. I stood in the doorway for a full minute, just staring at her, my mind racing with everything I wanted to scream. Finally, I just said it. He told me. About the baby. Her head snapped up. For the first time since this whole thing started, I saw fear in her eyes. She didn't deny it. She didn't even look shocked. She just froze. I asked the only question that mattered. "Is it mine?" Silence. Then she whispered, "No." I can't even describe what that felt like. Imagine your chest caving in, your stomach dropping out, and your whole body going cold all at once. That was me. She tried to talk, said things like, "It just happened," and "I didn't mean for it to go this far." She even had the nerve to say, "I still love you." I laughed. A broken, bitter laugh that didn't even sound like me. Because how do you claim love while carrying someone else's child behind my back? I told her it was over. For real this time. No more denial, no more second chances. I grabbed a bag, stuffed it with whatever I could, and walked out. But here's the kicker. She didn't beg me to stay. She didn't chase after me. She just sat there, staring at the floor, like she'd already chosen her new life. And in that moment, I realized the truth. The woman I thought I knew, the life I thought I had, it was gone long before I ever found those emails. Walking out of that apartment was the hardest thing I've ever done. It wasn't just leaving her. It was leaving behind the future I thought we were building. Marriage, kids, Sunday mornings together, gone in a single night. I crashed at a buddy's place for a while. The first week felt like hell. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think about anything but her words echoing in my head. "It's not yours." I kept replaying every laugh we shared, every kiss, every "I love you," trying to figure out when those moments stopped being real. And the loneliness hit hard. You don't realize how much space someone takes up in your life until it's just empty. Her toothbrush by the sink, her jacket on the chair. Every little thing became a landmine of memories. But here's where life surprised me. Support came from the last person I expected, her coworker. The same guy who had accidentally spilled the truth weeks earlier. He texted me out of the blue. "I heard what happened. If you ever need someone to talk to, I've been through something similar." At first, I ignored it. The last thing I wanted was a reminder of her world. But a few nights later, after too many drinks and not enough sleep, I caved. I called him. We talked for hours. He told me his ex-wife had blindsided him with an affair and that the pain I was feeling wasn't just mine, it was universal. That didn't make it easier, but for the first time, I didn't feel so alone. And slowly, I started to realize, maybe this wasn't the end of my story. Maybe it was the beginning of a new one. About 2 months later, out of nowhere, she showed up at my door. I hadn't contacted her, hadn't looked her up, hadn't wanted to. And there she was, standing with that same half-smile she used to use when she wanted something. I miss you," she said softly. I froze. Part of me wanted to punch her, part of me wanted to fall apart. But most of me felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. I let her talk. She rambled about how she'd made mistakes, how she'd realized she threw away what we had, how she regretted everything. She even cried a little. And for a brief, dangerous second, I felt that old spark, the one that made me believe in us. But then I remembered the emails, the lies, the pregnancy, the betrayal. Every little knife she'd driven into my back flashed in my mind. I took a deep breath. I don't think you understand, I said. You made your choice. I made mine. You don't get to come back when it's convenient for you. She looked shocked, hurt, maybe even angry, but I stood my ground. I closed the door, and this time, I didn't look back. And just like that, a chapter of my life ended, not with a bang, but with a quiet, final click. After that, I realized something important. Healing doesn't come all at once. It comes in tiny, almost imperceptible steps. The first step for me was moving into my own place again. Empty apartment, plain walls, no memories staring at me. It was terrifying and liberating all at once. I bought a small plant and named it Resilience. Silly? Maybe. But taking care of it reminded me that I could nurture something and see it grow, even after everything else had died. I threw myself into work, picked up old hobbies I'd neglected, and started running again. I even joined a local climbing gym, something I never thought I'd do alone. And you know what? I was scared at first, but every time I reached the top of a wall, I felt like I'd conquered a little bit of the pain inside me. Friends became my anchor. I realized who really cared, who stayed when it got ugly. Their support wasn't a replacement for what I lost, but it was a reminder that life didn't end with her betrayal. And slowly, very slowly, I started to laugh again. Not forced laughs or bitter laughs, real laughs. I even went on a few dates, not looking for love, just testing the waters, testing myself. I won't lie, it hurt. It still hurts sometimes. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe without thinking about her. And that, my friends, was the beginning of moving on. After everything, the lies, the betrayal, the heartbreak, I realized that life has a way of teaching you lessons you didn't want to learn, but desperately need. First, trust is precious. But blind trust? That's dangerous. I don't mean you should live suspiciously or interrogate everyone you love, but you need to pay attention to the small cracks before they become chasms. Second, never let anyone make you feel paranoid for caring. If something feels off, it probably is. Your instincts are there for a reason, and ignoring them doesn't protect the relationship, it protects the person lying to you. Third, heartbreak is devastating, but it can also be a catalyst. I discovered strength I didn't know I had. I found independence I didn't know I wanted. I learned that I could survive the worst pain and still find reasons to smile. Finally, forgiveness is more for you than them. I don't know if I'll ever forgive her fully, and maybe that's okay. But letting go of the rage, letting go of the endless replay of what happened, allowed me to reclaim my life. And most importantly, never say never. I thought betrayal could never happen to me. I thought I'd see the signs and walk away. Life proved me wrong, but it also proved that I could rise again. After months of rebuilding, something amazing happened. I started living for me, not for anyone else. I stopped checking my phone obsessively, stopped replaying old conversations, and stopped comparing myself to the man she was with. I traveled a little, short weekend trips at first, just to get away from the memories. I signed up for a cooking class, something I'd joked about doing someday. I even went to a concert alone, singing at the top of my lungs with strangers I'd never meet again. And it felt freeing. The best part? I realized happiness isn't something someone else gives you. It's something you create. Every climb I completed at the gym, every dish I cooked perfectly, every laugh shared with friends, it reminded me that life has beauty beyond heartbreak. And the relationships I formed after that, they were different. I valued honesty over convenience, substance over charm. I learned to recognize the people who truly belonged in my life, and to let go of the ones who didn't, even if letting go hurt like hell. For the first time in years, I felt like I was steering my own ship. Storms would come, sure, but now I knew I could navigate them. Looking back, I realized this story isn't just about betrayal. It's about growth, resilience, and rediscovering yourself when someone else tries to define your life for you. Yes, it hurt. More than I ever imagined. I lost trust, I lost love, and for a while, I lost myself. But I also gained clarity. I learned that my worth isn't tied to someone else's choices. I learned that heartbreak is temporary, but strength is permanent. To anyone going through something similar, don't ignore the signs, but don't let anger consume you. Protect yourself, take the time to heal, and don't be afraid to start over. Life has a way of giving second chances, not with the same people, but with yourself. And here's the biggest lesson: never say never. I thought I'd never be betrayed, never be blindsided, never have my world turned upside down. But I was wrong. And that was the best thing that could have happened. Because I survived. I learned. I grew. And now I live. You will too. One day, the pain fades, and what's left is you, and that's more powerful than you can imagine. Fire, never say never. Change your life. Take control. And don't let anyone else write your story.